Hello guys, and welcome back to Dark Horse FM, and in today's video we're going to be looking at a ridiculously overpowered Football Manager 2023 tactic created by Sirjur. It is the fourth tactic on a list of top 5 Football Manager 2023 overpowered tactics created for the FM23 beta version. You can also go on to use it in the new version of the game that has already been released. If you're using, let's say, an older version of Football Manager, don't you worry, I'm going to go over all the player instructions and all the team instructions as well, so you can go on to recreate this tactic for yourself. So I'm going to be testing this tactic with a few teams: Brighton, Eintracht Frankfurt, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Salernitana in Italian Serie A, Atalanta and Atletico Madrid. I'm also going to go on to unbox the remaining 3 tactics, that's the top 3 tactics from the FM 2023 beta versions that were tested as the top 5 tactics. This is the 4th tactic, like I mentioned. So remember to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when those videos do come up. So without wasting any more time, let's look at all the player instructions and then we can go over to the team instructions as well. First of all, there is a super keeper on support duty, and he has not been asked to do anything except take more risks. It's just the natural instruction for a super keeper on support. There's a ball playing defender here, in fact 2 ball playing defenders on defend duty, and they have identical instructions. They have been asked to dribble more, shoot less often, and then to stay wider. That sort of works well in a back 3. You have a central defender on stopper duty, and he has been asked to hold his position, take fewer risks and tackle harder. In the DM position, or center of midfield, is where the tactic gets really inventive. There are 2 wingbacks on attack duty and 2 Segundo Volantes on attack duty as well. 2 wingbacks on attack have the fewer risk instruction, shoot less often, stay wider and tackle harder. Both of them have identical instructions, so the wingback on the left and the wingback on the right have the same instructions. The Segundo Volante on attack duty has take fewer risks, shoot less often and tackle harder. Segundo Volantes can be deployed on either flanks of the defensive midfield position, so in the half space of the defensive midfield position, and both Segundo Volantes have attacking instructions or have attacking duties. Within both Segundo Volantes, you have a defensive midfielder on support duty. He has been asked to take fewer risks, dribble more, shoot less often, hold his position and then tackle harder. Then there's also the big gap where the Segundo Volantes will exploit the space between the midfield or the defensive midfield and the attackers. You have 2 advanced forwards in attack, and then they are playing to take fewer risks. First of all, they do have identical instructions, just to be sure. Take fewer risks, dribble more, shoot less often, roam from positions and tackle hard. The team instructions for this tactic are quite demanding. The general mentality of the tactic is to play with an attacking mentality. When the team is out of possession, there's a low block and a much higher defensive line. So essentially you're compressing the entire midfield and the entire defensive midfield into one flat line that the opposition has to try to break through, and when they can't break through and then you go on to win possession of the ball, a lot of players, in fact the 5 players here except the defensive midfielder, so 4 of these players except the defensive midfielder on support duty have been asked to attack. So they're going to go on counter attack and try to hit the opposition on the break. They've also been asked to press with much more often. Trigger press. This helps in a low block like this. When everybody's compressed together, your players are more likely to win possession relentlessly once the ball reaches this region. I've also been asked to prevent short goalkeeper distributions. This instruction plays particularly to the 2 center forwards, as the advanced forwards here that are in this position. They have been asked to prevent short goalkeeper distributions. When your team is out of possession, they've been asked to counter press and to counter. The goalkeeper has been instructed to distribute the ball to the center backs and to the full backs while rolling the ball out, essentially prioritizing a slower approach to play the ball out of defense. But when the ball is in possession and then the team can start to move forward, they can hit the opposition on the counter attack. When the team is in possession, the emphasis is on playing the ball through the middle, and that plays into the hand of the Segundo Volante. Both Segundo Volantes are on attack, so the team has been asked to play out of defense and play through the middle. There's a fairly narrow width, but the approach players also included that the team should pass the ball into space. The crosses has been set to mixed crosses, so that way your players can offer a lot more variety with their crossing. Walk the ball into the box has also been selected for this tactic. That way a more patient approach would be used, despite the fact that the team is relentlessly trying to attack and score goals. They're going to try to knock the ball past the opposition's defense when they try to sit deep and be defensive in a low block, defending with heavy numbers. The team has also been asked to run at defense and play very quickly, that's with a higher tempo while running at defense. Essentially, this also plays into the hand of the Segundo Volante and the wingbacks on attack duty, and also the advance forward. In fact, every player on attack in this tactic would benefit from the run at defense instruction and a much higher a much higher tempo selected for this tactic. That way your players are going to always be on the run and always attack the opposition whenever they see the opportunity to do so. So we're back at the end of the season with Brighton, and then looking at the other managers, I observed that Borussia Mönchengladbach are the only club that went on to part company with their manager. All the other teams seem to do well with the tactic, and then Brighton went on to finish in 9th place. I'd have loved them to finish in a higher position, to be honest with you, but looking at the team stats and then to see how often they went on to score 59 goals, which is miles off what Manchester City went on to rack up. So goals wise, they didn't do quite well, but then they went on to dribble a lot. They had the highest amount of dribbling in this league as far as the Premier League is concerned. But currently Brighton, I know that they're a mid-table side, but I expected them to qualify for Europe with this tactic, and that didn't quite work out. So we're going to look at all the other teams who had Eintracht Frankfurt and then see how well they did with the tactic. They went on to finish in 4th place, so they did qualify for the Champions League, finishing in the top 4. Looking at their team stats to see how well they did, they got knocked out in the group stage of the Champions League. They were runners-up in the Super Cup, but that's normal from last season. They got knocked out by Borussia Dortmund in the DFB Pokal. But looking at the team stats, Frankfurt had the highest amount of dribbles, Bayern had the highest amount of goals with 66, Frankfurt had 46 goals. That's low. So lots of dribbling and less goals, less control with how you're able to put the ball in the net for this tactic. That's what I'm seeing so far. Bayern actually dominated everything, so it's difficult to find something from Frankfurt. Looking at most games without losing, Eintracht Frankfurt had 5. Games without allowing a goal, Eintracht Frankfurt had 3. They were quite up there, so defensively they did quite well. Atalanta, on the other hand, went on to do very well with the tactic. They're going to win the league, they're going to win the Serie A. Juventus is second with 79 points, there's 1 game to go, and Atalanta has 92 points so far. They had a good season with this tactic. They won the Friendly Cup, that's not important. They went to the Italian Cup semi-final, got knocked out by AC Milan. They won 29 games in the league, they've lost only 3 times with a goal difference of 62. And then looking at the most goals, 88 goals scored by Atalanta, fewest shots against, fewest conceded. Atalanta is right up there, so the tactic worked quite well for them. Milan are up there as well, but most points per game, Atalanta with 2.49. They most amount of games without losing, so they had only just the 2 games without allowing a goal, just the 2 goals. Unlike all the other teams, Atalanta went on to do quite well with this tactic. Most possession, they were not in there because the tactic has a lot of running, so it's not a possession based tactic. So Atalanta went on to do well with this tactic. We'll look at all the second team. I think Salernitana, they're in the same league with Atalanta, so they finished in 11th place, and I know that Salernitana are the weakest team in the Italian Serie A. They're predicted to finish last on the table, but they went on to finish 11th place with, I kid you not, a goal difference of minus 17. That's heavy conceding, I have to admit, but quite well. They had a good season altogether, despite the fact that they conceded so many goals. Atletico Madrid, on the other hand, went on to have a fairly good season. I know it started badly at first, but they went on to have a fairly good season. They finished in 3rd place, that's kind of where they're predicted to finish. But looking at their schedule so far, they had some good wins, a heavy victory over Elche by 7 goals to 2 away from home. They went on to lose some games that clearly they shouldn't have lost, like the Barcelona game and then the Celta Vigo game as well. Unnecessary defeats. They went on to beat Freiburg in the Europa League, and then they lost to Roma just the 1 goal to 0. That got them knocked out from the Europa League competition. Looking at the team stats then to see how well they did. Average possession, like I mentioned, not a possession based tactic, but they were the 4th highest goal scorers in the league with 75, but the fewest conceded. Atletico with 6th in that position. Looking at most points per game, 2.05. They were the 3rd best team in the land using this tactic, so Atlanta were the 1 successful side. So guys, that's the Sirjur 352 system on Football Manager 2023. We looked at the player roles, we looked at the player instructions and the team instructions as well, so you can go, like the earlier parts of the video, you can go on to recreate the tactic for yourself and let me know how it works out for you. I'm also going to attach a link in the description so you can download this tactic for yourself and test it out, and also tweak it to suit your team, and also make some tiny tweaks to the tactic to make it a bit more effective for your team. I'll catch you guys with more Football Manager tactic test videos like this. We have 3 more tactics to go in the list of the FM23 Beta Top 5 tactics, so stay up to date with the channel. Remember to hit the subscribe button and also turn on the notifications bell so you can get notified when those videos do come out. I'll catch you in the next video.